Well, hello. This is Shane. I have not done a video in about a month now. I had been out of the country. I was actually in London. So I figured I'd wear my proper London hat. And this is uh, pretty much a music update video um, from all the stuff I purchased. There's going to be a two-parter to this because I bought so much music over there. And I actually am not going to show everything I got because it would take forever. Well, let's just get into it. Lots to show you, lots of CDs. So cassettes are harder to find over there, a lot harder to find than I thought. So CDs were kind of actually easier to find than cassettes. Yeah, and now that's the fan running in the background. It's too hot in this room, so I have to. I'm not shooting in a living room, I'm shooting my bedroom, so it's a little too hot in here, and I hate shooting in here because, for obvious reasons, there's this black mark here, which is the fucking wall, and it looks gross, but I have to do what I have to do. So let's just get into it. Lots of CDs, lots of albums, lots of 7 inches. Over there, I think 7 inches CDs and albums rule. Cassettes were a little bit harder to find. I only have one cassette. I'm not even going to show that to the next haul. So let's just get into it. All right. So to start it off, a few thrift store CDs before we get into the more high-end stuff. I could show you a lot more than what and I just don't want to bore you with it. But this is the Flaming Lips. This is Yoshima battles the Pink Robots. And Yoshima, I think that the referencing was a drummer in the band The Boredoms. And she was in a band called OOIOO, the drummer, Yoshima. I think that's who they're referencing in this. And this was, I think, maybe the follow-up to Pink, or not the Pink, the Soft Bulletin, which was a critically acclaimed album. I like this record a lot better. I think the songs are just a little bit more, for me, like, easy to absorb, and there's still like this emotional yearning, that's like that emotionality of, I'm just making up a word, the emotional intensity of Soft Bulletin, the sort of dramatization on that album. It's certainly here, but this is a lot more quirky. I like the song Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots Part 1. I like Fight Test. I like a lot of the songs on here. I'm a sort of somewhat Flaming Lips fan, but enough to buy their albums. Roachford, yeah, England's own Roachford. And he had a big hit in 1988 called Cuddly Toy. And maybe I'll just turn that fan off. I have a feeling it's going to get on our nerves. He had a single called Cuddly Toy in 1988 or 89 that was a hit here in the States. This is very, to me, like similar to like Terence Trent D'Arby. It's our Dan Reed network. It's like a fusion of pop and soul and rock and funk and all that kind of stuff. Probably not as funky as Dan Reed network, but like it's in that vein. So I had been actually looking for this. What used to be pretty common to find in thrift stores is getting harder to find now. So that was an easy one. In the last thrift store find I'm going to show you. I could show you a few more, I guess. Well, we'll see. Queen. This is Greatest Hits Volume 1, 2, and 3. So, pretty cool to have. You guys have seen that Greatest Hits cover, that one, and then the third one. I've had this so many fucking times. I've had this so many times. The big booklet right here, which is cool. This is a good box set. I like Queen, so this was a no-brainer for $1 or for £1, which is like $1.50 American dollars. Yeah, I got this at a thrift store. I was like, this is the kind of stuff that's harder to find at. They call them charity shops over there. Charity shops. That's what they call them over there. But they're harder. This would be harder to find for a. Like the American dollar here. Not impossible, but definitely harder. So this was a no-brainer. All right. do I want to show any more? Nah, I think I'm just gonna get into I want to get into the albums and spend time on that. I tried shooting this the other day ago and it cut off on the minute mark, so I don't want that to happen again. Um, these were from Cruisin' Records, which I'm going to show you some of those records I picked up from Cruisin'. But this is the Boomtown Rats, a collection called So Modern. So I was just kind of curious about the Boomtown Rats. I've had stuff by them, but haven't really given these guys a proper chance. And with the Record Store Day release of their like 70s stuff, I was really interested. I think the earlier era of Boomtown Rats, I think. So I was really interested in that. And I did not get it, so this is kind of a consolation prize from Record Store Day because he didn't have it, the owner didn't have it. I saw the Record Store Day release, but I just didn't buy it. I should have, but so England's Own. I think these guys kind of are like somewhere in between punk, new wave, and sort of like Irish, or not Irish, but English rock, college rock, art rock, maybe. I've never really given those guys a proper chance, so I don't really know 100%. This CD I've been looking for a long, long time, so I was happy to get this for £8. Hawk One, El Falsito, El Fasal Latino. I had this on CD. Sorry, let me move back a little bit here. I had this on CD for Jesus Christ. I got this for I don't remember how much I paid for it, but I remember getting this with the Vaselines, that Scottish indie pop group. And their like greatest hits or whatever that album was called, Sand in the Alley or whatever, the best of the Vaselines, and Patti Smith's Horses, and this. And they were about the only 3 CDs I had. I think I had David Bowie's The Man Who Sold the World. I had just a few, and I was living with my sister, and I remember playing this to fucking death. And I'm really happy to have this on CD again. I would love to get this on vinyl. I saw this in the last year, but it was like $30 some. So great psychedelic rock from the 70s, Hawkwind. Happy to have that. I love the song on here. I love Brainstorm and Space is Deep, but Time We Left This World Today is like probably my favorite Hawkwind song. This one I'm taking a chance on. This one was £7 too, and so I'm just taking a blind chance. This is Trojan Dub. So this is a 2 CD collection of dub music with King Tubby and Lee Scratch Perry, King Jimmy, and Scientist. And I haven't really gotten to dub music. I've always thought it was kind of fucking annoying, but it's hard to find it annoying when you've never really properly listened to it. I've heard like little bits here and there, and I always thought it was kind of annoying. But I'm gonna give it a chance now, a proper chance. Song tracks, that kind of stuff. Pretty cool. This was £8. I was like, there was a few other CDs I was gonna get, but I was like, you know what? It's time to give this dub music quite the chance. I like Lee Scratch Perry. The stuff I've heard, I've liked. So yeah, Trojan Dub. This is Trojan Dub, and it's got, like I said, all the acts on here, including Lee Scratch Perry. This one I picked up for £10 too, and this one came out in 2021, I believe, as a Record Store Day release. Vienna by Ultravox, the Steve Wilson mix. So I think this was 2021, yeah. And then it's got it's a 2 CD set, and it's got a bunch of extra instrumental tracks on here. I thought this was a no brainer. So yeah, I like this. This is where John Fox departs, and I think Midge Ure takes over. I don't know if it's specifically on this record. It might be. It's a gorgeous record. Vienna's a great song on here. Western Promise is good. What's that song? Passing Strangers. There's a lot of good songs. It's part of that romantic new wave stuff of the 80s. I like it. So Vienna. You know, I can't quite do it quite like Midger can. Flesh for Lulu. I think this is their first album, and this has got a shit ton of bonus tracks on it. I'm not. I know the name Flesh for Lulu. I think they're kind of gothic rock, you know, but don't quote me on that, you know. But they're in the new wave gothic rock, I think, kind of thing. From this came out I think in 1984, their first album. I believe this is their first album, but I haven't really listened to them. I think they're on some soundtracks, but don't quote me on that. So Flesh for Lulu, pretty cool to have. So I'm going to give this a chance. This has got a ton of bonus tracks on it too, which is cool. It's got a John Peel session, a bunch of B-sides on here too. This compilation came out in 2017 off of Caroline Records, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, so pretty cool. Last but not least, that I spent 13 pounds on this, and these are part of, and you guys probably have seen these CD series that have like sort of, I don't know, like a bunch of CDs in one like little box thing, you know. And this is Stiff Little Fingers. I thought this was awesome. This was 13 pounds, so you know, which is still a good deal because these things usually go for $20. It's kind of flammable material. The first Stiff Little Fingers album. My favorite, Nobody's Heroes. I used to listen to this album quite a bit. Hanks. Let's see. Go for It. Yeah, this is a great record. I like this one. And Now Then. So I think these are, I don't know their discography, but I think these are kind of all their early studio records that came out, you know. But I have Inflammable Material on CD, but I've been wanting this Nobody's Heroes for a long fucking time. And these are in decent, these are in really good shape too. These are like tip top shape, kind of. I listened to this Nobody's Hero records a lot back in the day. I just love that song on there, Wait and See. You know, that song's like an anthem for me. But yeah, great punk band from. I keep thinking these guys are from Ireland, from Belfast maybe, or they Welsh. I can't remember, but they had kind of a Clash kind of sound a little bit. Obviously, were a huge influence on bands like Green Day afterwards, kind of pop punk, I guess, a little bit. But they definitely have a Clash thing going on, I think. But I like them a lot more than the Clash. There's something very roots level, ground root, like roots level thing that I like. Wait, the Clash are, I guess the problem with the Clash, if there is a problem, is they're too good. Like Stiff Little Fingers has to work their ass off to be good. Like I think the Clash were just too fucking good. To be punk almost. 7-inch singles. Just show them. Midger. Just speaking of Ultravox, Call of the Wild, and it's in this. And When the Winds Blow. And I think these were recorded in 1986. So I haven't heard Midger's solo stuff in a long time. He was in a weird band in the early 80s, and I've been looking for that album. Something in Swords in the title, and it's really fucking crazy music. But besides Ultravox, he was in another band, and it's nuts. Big Country, One Great Thing. Shot! And the B-side is Song of the South. Now look at that. How often do you get a Gatefold 45? Pretty cool. And it's on the Mercury label. I'm not familiar with either one of these songs. This came out in 1986. So past the Fields of Fire album. Or The Crossing and Fields of Fire, was that the other album? Past those earlier records, so I'm not sure what to think of this. So Level 42, The Sun Goes Down, Living It Up. And the B-side is Can't Walk You Home. 1983 Polydor release. Just show it over my face right here. I think these guys are really good, Level 42. And of course, everybody knows the big hits, Something About You and all that. Let me get that out of my face. Something About You and what's the other fucking song? Lessons in Love. And I like that era, Level 42, but they were a lot more funky, there's a lot more horns. And they're part of this, like, kind of English sound, along with they had a lot of horns and kind of dance, like Shack Attack, I think, was another group that was kind of similar. And they're great. Shack Attack is great. So, yeah. Pretty cool. So, and now I don't know any of these singles, and I haven't listened to them. So, but I just know that Level 42's earlier stuff was a lot more funky, I think. Boise with Winter Is, the A side, and the B side is Winter Is Instrumental. I don't know who Boise is. It's on State Records. I'm guessing this is ska. I'm guessing on the State label. So. I don't know if anybody knows who Boise is. It's fucking Boise. And last 45 I got, and this is really fucking cool to get on 45. The Vapors with Turning Japanese. That's awesome to get on 45. And the B-side is the live version of Here Comes the Judge. So pretty cool. On the United Artists label, 1980. Don't have really much to say except for this was a great new wave single from the early 80s, power pop. The Vapors were one of the best power pop groups from the early 80s in my opinion. I like their stuff a lot. I mean, they don't get the sort of love they deserve, I don't think. The first two albums by them are incredible. Incredibly good power pop. And that's it for the 45s. I'm going to go ahead and get into the albums, and we might actually get done in a fairly decent time today because I don't want to get powered off. So let's get into the albums I picked up. These first handful of albums are all I picked up from thrift stores, so I'm going to grab those, take those out right now. These handful right here. I'm going to go through these fairly quickly. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these because I want to spend more time on the bigger albums. Radioactive, this was like £1. These were either £1 or two pounds, like $2-3 American a piece. This is like on the Ronco label, so, and that's kind of like a K-Tel derivative. I love these like K-Tel Ronco compilations of European artists because it's so different than the American version of this. So you have on here like Disco by Atruan. It's the first song, so it's obviously a disco tune. And then you have Black Sabbath Paranoid on here. You have XTC on here, Generals and Majors. Then you have like Odyssey, the great disco group Odyssey on here. Use It Up and Wear It Out. UB40, Gary Newman. I think these are interesting, these compilations. I really like them. So, yep, I do. So, this one I just bought for the cover because that's sexy. Top of the Pops. This is actually by the Hallmark singer, so it's not an original artist. And it's supposed to come with a 34 by 23 poster. No poster in it. I totally bought this for the cover. I mean, how awesome is that cover? She's covering her boobs so I can show it. Yeah. In the back, she's got boobs, but I'm not going to really show that too much. On the Pickwick label. So this is a bunch of songs from the late 70s, early 80s, sung by this fictitious group. Like YMCA, Cars, Video Killed a Radio Star, Message in a Bottle, Heart of Glass, I Will Survive, When You're in Love with a Beautiful Woman. I used to get so pissed off when I would buy these like compilations. If it doesn't have the artist next to their name, chances are it's going to be some cheesy shit ass group like the Countdown Singers. That used to be the one I used to see, and I'd get duped by it. And then I figured out if it doesn't have the artist next to the song, it's probably going to be somebody else singing it. So, buyer beware. Johnny Cash. This one was £2. It's just like 20 all-time great recordings in one package. When I was over there, I was just buying shit. I was just super buying shit, so I wasn't really fucking paying attention. There's Johnny Cash right there. Yeah. This isn't the world of Johnny Cash. Sorry, it's not the best of Johnny Cash. So it's got not like a lot of his huge hits, but like his old version of Delia's Gone is on here. He does a few Jimmy Rogers covers, Waiting on a Train, and what's the other one he does? In the Jailhouse Now. Of course, Johnny was in jail at one point. On CBS record label. This'll sell. I mean, I don't know why I got this, to be honest. It's like I said, I was just buying stuff left and right, and I was like, maybe I should have bought some of the stuff. The thrift store stuff is so hit or miss, and it's not like the records here, I think, are better than the ones at the thrift stores I went to. They weren't that great. This is Ad Anta with Night in Daydream. Ad Anta on the Touchstone label, 1978. Progressive rock meets like sort of art rock. And there is a real strong art rock element to this group, So this kind of borderlines between being like a Roxy music and like a sort of like Yes or Gentle Giant or something like that kind of combo. It's interesting music. Some of it's really kind of folky at times. Some of it's kind of more avant-garde, art rockish. It's pretty cool. I mean, this record in particular, which I paid £1 for, was probably the most common record I saw over there. And I've seen this in the States too, but I saw like 3 or 4 copies of this throughout my time there in different stores. So it was a very common record to find there. So I decided to take a chance on it. So good one. And Anta. This is an exceptional record that I picked up. I'm really happy to have this one. This is Nick Hayward with North of a Miracle, 1983 release off the Arista label. Gatefold with lyrics on the back here. He looks like somebody that just got admitted to Princeton or something. 1983 release. Nick Hayward was in Haircut 100, great little new wave group from the 80s. I think they were from like Australia, New Zealand, or one of those areas. And I was not a huge fan of Haircut 100 when they came out, but I certainly think they're a great band now after listening to, I think it was Pelican West. Listening to that album, I was like, hey, these guys are really good. But I'm a fan of early 80s kind of pop, new wave music. This is wonderful. Really kind of sophisticated, sort of thought-provoking, moody pop music. It got really reflective. This is the kind of thing that kind of reminds me of like what the Finn Brothers did later on, or Crowded House did. Later on, or even going into bands like Blue Nile or Cock Robin. Sophisticated pop music is the best way to describe this, and it is wonderful. Songs on here, Blue Hat for a Blue Day is wonderful. The Kick of Love, The Day It Rained Forever, very somber on this album, kind of a moody album, but just really, really great, well done pop music. I mean, this is really good. Would be one of my high recommends for the today's show. This is a dance single called Lorenza, and the single is Jerusalem. I just bought it because that is like one of the coolest fucking covers I've ever seen. I just think it's awesome. And look at that, like, sort of pastoral background. I mean, that looks like a fucking painting waiting to happen. Um, 90s dance music. It's on the ZTT label, so it's like dance, house dance, soul music. Really good, really good. I don't know much about Lorenzo. I wasn't able to find out much about the artist. I'm guessing he's British, or she's British. Or, you know, Lorenzo maybe. I don't know, but good single. There's a ton of singles there, 12-inch singles. That's the place to go to get, like, if you're DJing, that's a great place to get that. You can get a ton of 12-inch singles over there, and that's the only one I picked up. I saw a few of these, and each of these were $1. And this is one of the total pioneers of rock and roll. I got another one coming up in a few minutes, but this is Little Richard. This is the Great Ones compilation off of the MFP label, which is kind of a knockoff label for, sorry, for EMI Records. I've had MFP Records before, Music for Pleasure. They're kind of a knockoff label, like I said. It's got all, you know, Good Golly, Miss Molly, Tutti Frutti, Jenny Jenny, Rip It Up, Long Tall Sally, which is awesome. Doing a few covers, Hound Dog, Money Honey, Slipping in the Slide In. Well, that's not a cover, but it's on here. Keep a Knockin', and he does a good cover of a whole lot of shaking going on. To me, the two most important figures besides Elvis and rock and roll are Chuck Berry and Little Richard. Chuck Berry, because he really put the foundation of those power chords down that everyone from the Who to fucking the Rolling Stones to any band, Led Zeppelin even, any band that was doing rock and roll sort of like took from, if you ask me. And Little Richard was just wild as fuck, you know. So he like, to me, is the first punk rocker. I mean, a lot of people see Jerry Lee Lewis, who I think's up there too for being real important. But Little Richard to me is just absolutely fucking nuts. When you think about the time period that he came out, his music is absolutely fucking wild. And he was wearing like fucking mascara and eyeliner and shit. Like, he was wild. Like eyeliner, you know. He was just a wild dude, you know. In a way, I love his music. I still love it. I still think his music holds up today. You know, he's kind of like a hero of mine in a way, like a musical hero of mine. Love him. I guess we'll do the other one, Elvis, Separate Ways. This is Camden RCA, a release from 1972, trying to once again milk Elvis and do another reissue of, or do a not a reissue, but a release of reissued songs that were released in the past. And they did that. There was another album they did right around the same time period where it was like songs he had sung in the early 60s. And I think that's the case on this. I think a lot of these songs are sung in the early 60s and then released like it's new or something, and they put a newer cover of him on there. Maybe he re-recorded some of these. I don't think he did though, but Separate Ways is on here. That's a great song by him. Always on My Mind. I like his version of Always on My Mind. Old Shep is ridiculous. In a good way, you know. There's so many people that are really sentimental about animals and pets. I'm clearly not one of those people. So, Old Shep is definitely, if you've had a dog, I'm sure it's a, you know, heartbreaking song for you. You know, and I like animals and stuff, but I don't have a real strong attachment for them like a lot of people do, you know. So, and Yves Dutel, French crooner. Yeah, Yves Dutel, singer-songwriter. This is kind of in the a folk spectrum of it, folk pop, but he's kind of a popular singer in France, and I just could not. I buy this French stuff, French pop stuff. I'm a sucker for it. There it is on the Pathé label. If I go to France, and I plan to at some point, I'm definitely going to be fucking buying French records by these kind of artists. I see a lot of these kind of French records up in Tampa, where the guy from Steelworker Records sells a lot of these, and I've bought quite a few in the past. Well, 5 or 6 probably French singers in the past. So Yves Dutel, like I said, he's a kind of a singer-songwriter, kind of mixed with crooning, I guess. Like, you know, he's really popular over there from what I read on him. I really don't like showing classical, but I'm going to show some classical. So you could fast forward if you hate them, but I'm going to go through these fairly quickly. These I picked up from Cruisin' Records. So Cruisin' Records was it's a store in Welling, and the store was getting reconstructed, or was reconstructed. Part of the building was being rebuilt, so there was a lot of stuff lopped on top of it. Like half the store was, you know, like just had records and records on top of each other. But they had such good CDs there, and I showed you some of those earlier. But these were sitting there, and I just said, I'm going to get some classical. Claude Debussy, piano music. Yes, Claude Debussy, piano music. And no, I don't really know much about this. I know Debussy was kind of melancholic, was melancholy, sort of a French composer. Along the lines of like probably like an Eric Satie kind of thing. It's on the Deutsche Grammophon label, and I did not really give this a proper listen, so I can't tell you what it sounds like. But if you look up piano music, I'm sure this has the Bara Masque Suite, the Dance Suite, the Do Arabesque Suite. That one sounds a lot like Eric Satie. Pour le Piano is on side 2, and I'm not gonna. Yeah, there's a bunch of other songs on there. I'm not gonna go over them because I can't fucking. This is Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto Number 2. This is an absolute stunning, like an absolute stunner. Did I know I have one more classical I gotta grab. I thought I did. Maybe I don't. It might show itself up later. I thought I had these in order. Oh, it's in here. My bad. It's in here. I'll grab it real quick. Alright, Rachmaninoff Piano Concerto Number 2. Dedicated to his sort of mentor who whipped him back into psychological shape after having a little bit of a, I don't know, breakdown or whatever. And he wrote because the guy helped him along here. So Rachmaninoff was a very emotionally temperamental composer, and I don't know what's in the water with him and shit. But this second movement on here is one of the most beautiful fucking things I've ever heard in my life. The second movement of his Piano Concerto Number 2 is absolutely stunning. Like I had like chills listening to it. It's absolutely it's worth getting this just for that. And I think I've had this before, and then I have given this the proper chance. This is on the Ace of Diamond label. This came out in 1959. So I love classical records that have like cool paintings like that on there. By the beautiful Blue Danube. This is once again on Deutsche Grammophon. This is Johann Strauss, father and son on here. And is it father and son? Well, that's what it says. Anyways, he's known for waltzes. Blue Danube has been used in movies. A very popular piece of classical music that's been used a lot, and even probably television and commercials and stuff. If you'd heard it, you kind of know what it sounds like. This also has the overture to the Die Fledermaus on here. The Ahnen Poco, the Emperor Waltz is actually, I kind of like that one. This is conducted by Ferenc Friske from the Berlin Radio Symphony Orchestra. So German done. So Yeah, I mean, if you look up the Blue Danube or Blue Danube, I should say, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, and I'm pretty sure you've heard it. The great Jean Sibelius, Symphony Number 6 in D minor and Symphony Number 7 in C minor. The D minor is Opus 104. The C minor is Opus 105. Sibelius, he's another one of those composers that writes really, really good symphonies, and that's kind of what he's known for. And the number 6 has such a fullness to it. You know, when you hear some symphonies and it's got like, well, it's pretty good, you know, blah blah blah, you know, and but this one has such a full, like I don't know how many players are on it, but there's just a full range of sound on it. It's absolutely powerful in a way, and really kind of, I think Sibelius' stuff is kind of sneaky, and it's sort of like got a seductiveness to it that's kind of odd in a way, because it kind of lulls you into this like sort of like classical sexuality or something. I don't know. I feel like his music so it's kind of like neurotic or erotic or something. I always felt like it's like you could put this on to porn. But and that's just my interpretation of it. There's other people that probably say this is like library boring music. But when I listen to Sibelius, there's something tricky in there. So, and the last classical music, and this is probably the one. If I'm going to show you the one that's like the most batshit, this is probably it. And not for the reasons you would think, but this is Dvorak's Mass in D minor, the Te Deum, and this also has biblical songs number 1 through 5. So this is made in Czechoslovakia on the Seraphim label, and it's got a bunch of, it's got kind of a write-up on it, and I didn't read it. I usually when I listen to this kind of music, I usually look through the booklets, but it's on that label right there, Seraphim. So this is this is kind of fucking nuts, because first of all, like, and it's only maybe because of my limited understanding of Dvorak's stuff, but he's known for the New World Symphony, and you know that's a great piece of music, and kind of nature oriented. Kind of, I think that's kind of what that was, an ode to his motherland. You know, they composers like to write songs either about like fucking nature or God, one of the two, you know, or their country or whatever. And so the New World Symphony is a real cool piece of classical music. And this he's doing like a fucking mass, and it's got that usual like singing in unison, like a choral or chorus singing in unison, and then the soprano sings solo, and then this fucking wonky fucking organ that doesn't sound like it belongs, kind of like fucking makes its way in there, and like the chorus like sounds like, you know, like your typical like sort of John Tavernier kind of chorus stuff, but like the soprano doesn't sound any. It all sounds disconnected in a way to me, and it just is such a weird fucking thing to listen to. So I'm gonna scramble my brain over that one. So this is Dvorak's Mass in D major. So end of the classical. I know you guys probably don't like classical, but I'm sorry, I do, and I have to show it because I like to show everything. I should have organized these better, is what I should have done, and my problems would have been over with. Hee hee, ha ha, hee hee. I try to organize these beforehand, but no luck. So these next stack are records I got cruising, and these were all in the sort of less pound kind of thing. So I'll show you those. A few 12-inch singles, and I love this artist, Howard Jones. This is Things Can Only Get Better. 1985 release, big single form, and the B-side is the really wonky Why Look for the Key and You Jazzy Nork. Why Look for the Key is kind of an interesting song. It's definitely one of the darker songs by him. It's got like a sort of darkness to it. And You Jazzy Nork is silly, and Things Can Only Get Better is, like I said, one of his big pop singles. You guys know that song. I buy Howard Jones singles. I love Howard Jones. So, and then this one is Look Mama. And the B side is Learning How to Love and Dream into Action. Look Mama is very funky. And this single and the Things Only Get Better, these are all from the album Dream into Action. And if you're going to get one album by Howard Jones, that would be the one to get. It's a fucking great record by him. I just love Howard Jones. He's one of my favorite artists from the 80s. I mean, he's in the top 5 favorite artists of the 80s. I swear. I love him. I love him. I love him. I love him. I just kind of show these in order. Why not? Huh? Stateside Hombres. This is, what is this song called? Hard Time Styley. So this is really interesting. This is got the dancehall remix, the album version, and the dancehall instrumental. So I knew this was going to be ska music from the get-go. Off their 2008 album, or 3 album, Skank. This is really interesting ska music. It's got electronic elements to it, and has weird, like maybe even dub stuff in it. And it has an odd, it's ska / reggae only by default. I think it's just very interesting that it's not as like the usual horn, and it's not like Mighty Mighty Boss Tones or anything like that, because it's got those elements of electronic and dub and sort of funk even in there. It's really cool. I would definitely get the album if I can find it. But yeah, Stateside Hombres. I don't know if I like the name of the band, but another 12-inch single for you, and that's the end of the singles. Greg Kihn's first album. I've been buying Greg Kihn's stuff. I haven't listened to this album. The tracks I've heard on this is more singer-songwriter-ish, a little bit more acoustic, a few power pop songs spread throughout. Not quite as power pop as he was going to get, but this is fantastic. I mean, still, I think Greg Kihn is a hidden treasure of pop music. I mean, I don't ever hear anybody in the VC talk about him, And when it comes to, I don't want to get into it, but when it comes to power pop, people, when they have power pop, like best power pop albums or whatever, they always dismiss, like Greg Kihn is never mentioned. Either is like Rick Springfield, and just because they hit the top 40 doesn't mean it's not valid or good top power pop music. I hate that way of thinking. I think that's so fucking stupid. How can you be a fucking power pop snob? Oh, but there is power pop music snobs out there for sure. It's like, man, it's so stupid to me. It's like, give me a fucking break, Oh no, 2020 is great, but Greg Kihn, no. I love 2020, so I don't mean it that way, but the members are great, like. So this is fantastic. I mean, it's just really good pop music, really, more so than anything, before he went down that power pop rabbit hole. So, the Darts Greatest Hits. So if you look at the back of this, you probably are guessing this is going to be like fucking ska music or some sort of soul music. This is our new wave even. This is like rock and roll revival stuff. Like a little, it's got some doo-wop aspects. It's kind of like, to me, a better version. These guys are a better version of Sha Na Na. Or Flash Cadillac and the Continental Kids or whatever. This is way better than both of those in my opinion. There's really, really good soulful vocals on here. And some of the songs are kind of annoying because they do songs like Boy from New York City, Let's Hang On, Duke of Earl, Reet Petite. They're kind of annoying, but the good songs on here are fucking fantastic. Like Get It and what's the other song on here? Come Back, My Love. And the fantastic song on here, It's Raining. There's a depth, soulful vocals, and such a depth of it on here. It really surprised me because I was like, once I looked at their first video and heard Duke of Earl, I was already automatically fucking annoyed. And then I listened to a few more tracks, and I was like, God, these guys are fucking good on the Magnet label. So I gotta speed up if we're gonna get done because I have a feeling I'm gonna get kicked off after an hour. If that happens, I'm gonna fucking be irate. But so let's speed through these. Status Quo back on Black, back. The King of the Boogie, still doing kind of a hard rock boogie or classic rock boogie sound. No different on this. I love the fact, if anything, it's just a little bit more bluesy. It's got a little bit more of some of the riffs are a bit bluesy, but I love Status Quo. They're just fun to listen to, man. They're fun to. They can rock the fuck out sometimes, or they can just make your toes tap, you know. And of course, most people know them from that psychedelic song, Pictures of Matchstick Men, but that's not really what this band's about. They're about the fucking boogie, man. They're great, Status Quo is. So, 1983 there. Alright, some soundtracks before we get to the last one. All these are gold for me, and one of them I had been looking for a while. Rocky IV soundtrack, yes. A Rocky V soundtrack, yes. This is 1990 release. This is hard to find in the States here, let alone elsewhere. So I collect all the Rocky soundtracks anyways. I know it's kind of lame, but I do. And this has got MC Hammer on it, and MC Tab, and a lot of soul and hip hop. The best song on here is actually one of the best songs, in my opinion, that I heard from Elton John in the 90s. A song called Measure of a Man. Measure of a Man. It is a great track on here by Elton John. But, yeah, cool. Rocky V. This is the one where he, I think, trains Tommy Morrison, and they got into a fight in a back alley or something like that in the street. And then Rocky IV, this one I had been looking for a while. This is an absolute nugget of goodness, and probably my favorite Rocky soundtrack. Man, this is just so fucking good. It's got so many great songs on it. It's got James Brown, Living in America. Survivor do a few songs, including basically the Eye of the Tiger redub in Burning Heart. I mean, it's basically the same fucking formula. And they also have a song on here called, I think they had another song on here. Well, Eye of the Tiger's on here. Great songs on here. Hearts on Fire. John Cafferty. That's a great song. Really poppy. Lots of keyboards. Vince DiCola's Training Montage is fucking great. All synthesizer, blowout. Robert Tepper's No Easy Way Out. A great song. And fucking... One Way Street by Go West is actually a pretty good little pop song on here, but The Sweetest Victory by the band Touch is fucking great. Such AOR goodness. This album fucking rules. This movie rules. It's my favorite Rocky movie. I know it's not like a great movie, but I love Rocky IV. Girls Just Want to Have Fun, the soundtrack. Now, for some reason, I thought this had the original version that Robert Hazard did of the song. It is not on here, but there are tons of good dance pop songs on here, like Come On Shout by Alex Brown, and Too Cruel by Amy Rainey, and what's the song? Technique by Amy Hart is Too Cruel. Rainey does Too Cruel. And my favorite track on here is Dancing in Heaven by Q-Tip. It's a great dance pop song. If you like 80s dance pop shit, this album is worth picking up at your local thrift store, dollar store, in your dollar bin. On the Mercury label. It's just good dance pop stuff. I'm a sucker for 80s soundtracks. I pick them up when I see them. And the last one is Bittersweet by King. This is actually a pretty good fucking band. I had this back in the day, and I listened to it, and I fucking gave it shit. I hated it. Because I was hoping it would be like some like kind of gothic or college rock. This is total dance pop from the 80s. The song Bittersweet is wonderful.
But there's a few really good songs on here, like I Cringed, I Died, I Felt Hot, Torture, Mind Your Toes is fun. This is definitely in that sort of like ABC camp. Uh, but it does got a tidgin of a college rock sound to it too, just enough. But the King was a good band, British band. I'm happy to have this again and keeping it this time. All right, we're getting to the end. Next two were $2 and £2 and then £5. Billy Idol's Vital Idol. We'll stay on the '80s thing here. This is, all right. Yeah, classic Billy Idol greatest hits compilation. Definitely doesn't have the same cover, I don't think, as the. Maybe it does, but this one was £2. It's got White Wedding parts 1 and 2, Hot in the City, Dancing with Myself, Flesh for Fantasy. Love Calling is a great song off the first album by him, the first self-titled album by him, and so is one of my favorite songs by him, Catch My Fall. It's a gorgeous song. He could do like beautiful songs real well, like Eyes Without a Face. I mean, he didn't do a ton of like ballads, but man, he was good when he did like slow songs or emotional songs. I mean, kind of underrated for it. Like Sweet 16, that is a fucking fantastic song off the Whiplash Smile record. And Johnny Hates Jazz, and you're giving me nothing but a shattered dream. 1987, once again, kind of dance pop stuff. I'm a big fan of this fucking album. I think it's really a solid fucking pop album. I call it's almost like sophisticated pop. It's in the same vein as like ABC and those kind of groups. They had just a Spandau Ballet, maybe a little bit, but these guys were a little bit more had kind of like a sophistication to them. Well, so did those bands. They just it's really good pop music. I Don't Want to Be a Hero is probably my favorite track on here, but Shattered Dreams is great. Turn Back the Clock is great. Heart of Gold is another good song on here. This one was £5. I'm going to give this to my brother, but I certainly would keep this for myself. Johnny Hates Jazz, like, and Breathe, and a lot of this late '80s, like, sort of soft pop stuff. I fucking dig it. I really like it. Madonna, Like a Prayer. This is great. This is 1988 or 89 release. 89 release, I believe. And this, of course, has her big hit on here, Like a Prayer and Cherish. And what else is on here? Express Yourself. Oh Father. There's some really good songs on here. Dear Jessie is great on here. The last song on here I love, Act of Contrition. I think that's one of her best songs. Very mature album. She takes a step even more forward in her maturity, I think, from True Blue, which I love, to this album. It is some great dance pop and some ballads, and just Madonna really almost at the top of her game, if not at the top of her game. I think she's still completely like a great artist who just still doesn't get a lot of love for being a great artist. All right, 4 or 5 left, we're done. Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark, Architecture and Morality. This is a fucking record by them. This has some damage on it, but I got this album in really good shape, in fucking great shape, for £5. So yes, there's some mold on the cover, on the record cover, but not on the record itself. It's in great shape. And this is going for about £30, or $30 in America too. That's a great record by Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark. Probably my favorite record by them. This record and the first one in Dazzle Ships. I love the early Orchestral Maneuvers stuff. I mean, I like pretty much what they did in the '80s, pretty much. But this has got Souvenir and Joan of Arc on it, and the great song Georgia, Gorgeous. They just had a way of making like synth pop music gorgeous. There was something very emotive and really beautiful about what Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark were doing. Hot Chocolate, 20 Greatest Hits. I keep forgetting where these guys are from. Denmark, maybe? I forget what they're from. But they're from a European country, somebody will tell me. They had the big hit, You Sexy Thing, and I think Everyone's a Winner. I think that was another big hit, even though that's not on here. They were a disco group, kind of mixed white-black group. And I really bought this because it's got one song on here I really love, a song called Emma, about a lady who's like, I think she's either a prostitute or she's homeless, and she ends up killing herself accidentally. She overdoses, I think. It's a brutal song that Urge Overkill remade called Emmeline. But man, fucking what a great song by them. And that was a big hit by Emma, too, but it's a forgotten track by Hot Chocolate. And it's actually like more rock than disco pop. But I'm a fan of this band. I like them. I believe in miracles. What's wrong, you sexy thing? You know that one. This one is called Pillows and Prayers. This is Cherry Red Recordings, 1982-83. I actually got this at another thrift store, but I just threw it in. This one was £8. This has got a bunch of like, I don't even know what you would call these bands. Kind of, it's got the Marine Girls on it. It's got the monochrome set. Like indie, kind of dream pop, indie pop from the early 80s. So this is a steal. You know, the Marine Girls stuff is really hard to find. Everything But the Girl is on here. Attila the Stockbroker's on here. The Nightingales. Kevin Coyne. This is cool to have. Kind of an indie rock from the early 80s. Everything But the Girl sounds so much different in the early 80s than they did of course, later on. I even like the stuff they did in the 90s. I like that quite a bit, but this I like too. Early Everything But the Girl. Roy Wood, The Wizard. This one was £12. I was super fucking tickled to get this. Of course, Roy Wood is from The Move, and it was also in the band The Wizard, which was his creation. I think this is the Greatest Hits compilation on the Jet label. Pretty happy to have this. So, yeah, just another Greatest Hits compilation of Roy Wood that I don't really need. This one was £12, but I've never seen this one, so I bought it just because I'm a Roy Wood fanatic. Kind of like, I don't know, the Wizard stuff was really strange. Some of it was like really like Baroque, kind of classical popish into like glammy rock and roll. I just thought the Wizard stuff was just so weird compared to his other music, and the weirder the better. 2 records left, and I've been going through this real fast, so I'm sorry I'm a little tired. This was a Record Store Day exclusive in 2021 that I got, and this is going online for a lot more money than what I got it for. Amigo the Devil. Covers, B-sides, live versions. Covers, demos, B-sides, and live versions. So, more of the great Amigo the Devil. Yeah. Kind of dark folk. Really, kind of, at times, really humorous lyrically, and at other times, really heartbreaking. He's been on, like, metal labels, and he's definitely not metal. I mean, he can rock out a little bit, but his stuff's usually in that kind of acoustic, dark, gothic folk stuff, country folk, whatever you want to call it, and it's super good. So this is a steal. Yeah. So, and last but not least, this one I picked up for £20. They had a ton of live albums there, and he had a box of just live albums, and he had Pink Floyd's Live at Pompeii. I should have gotten it because it would have been $20 here. I saw my local record stores selling it for fucking $42. I'm like, this is Metallica and Damage in is it Japan? Yeah, Nayoga Broadcast 1986. Double album. I don't got a lot of Metallica. I thought it was cool to get like kind of a, radio program or live album of their other earlier stuff. So Metallica, no problems. And that's it. That's all I have. I'm gonna stop this pretty soon here because I have a feeling I'm gonna get cut off at some point. I'll be back for part 2, which is all ages. I have DVDs, I have CDs, I have a cassette, I got some DVDs, a t-shirt, and a bunch of albums and some 45s to show you. I'm going to let this upload tomorrow, probably upload it tomorrow, and then I'm going to shoot that video early next week for the part 2 of this. So this is part 1 of England pickups. Hopefully there's something in there you liked. I mean, altogether I probably spent $300 and I got a shit ton of stuff. And my brother helped pay for some of this stuff. So altogether, probably everything I bought was around $500. So I spent a lot of money on music over there. But I was saving and had money for taxes and all that stuff put aside just for records. So, all right, I'm going to go. I'll see you guys for part 2 soon. Probably I'll try to upload that early next week. Take care. And as they say in England, cheers, mate.